Excuse that print. Let's start fresh with some fun botanical prints using stencils. If you want to challenge yourself, try limiting your palette. I'm planning on limiting myself to only using these Art Rangers pastel acrylics, which I recently found at my local craft store. If you find yourself putting too much paint on your plate, you can use a second plate as a palette, assuming you have one. Here I'm using my round gel plate before rolling with the brayer. It keeps the working plate from getting too much paint. If you're using cheaper craft paint like this, you might notice it's not as smooth to brayer. You'll often see roller marks, but these paints somehow end up working fine once I pull the print. I was impatient and left enough paint on the plate for another pull. Normally I cover the entire plate with paint and then use the stencils and mask. But this time I'm going to add paint to certain areas only and mask them off with these leafy stencils. Since these are not intricate stencils, I can just use a clean brayer and roll it on top to add some pressure. And when I say clean brayer, I really just mean one that is dry and won't leave paint on your paper. At this point, you will get very subtle results as we are only starting to build out our layers. And also because we are working with soft pastel colors. I'm going to be quickly removing the extra paint using the cleanup sheet. I'm trying to get a rough idea of where and how I want to place the stencil. I'm sorry about my voice being a bit hoarse. I have a sore throat, so please excuse me for that. Oops, I did not realize there was still paint on the brayer. Remember that with this technique, you can just stop at any point you like, or you can literally keep going on for as long as your paper will take the extra paint layers. The more layers you have, the more depth in your print. I was wondering why this is looking more red than orange, and now I realize it is because I picked up the pastel red tube instead of the pastel orange. No wonder it is standing out like a sore thumb. If you grab the wrong color like I just did, don't stress, it happens. Just know you can always balance it out with another layer later. The top left corner looks a bit empty, so I add a layer in that area, but it is too subtle as the color I used is quite close to what is already there in the background. At this point, I decided to bring in the great equalizer, also known as the color white. Look at the difference it made. It added a beautiful contrast while muting the red, which was too much in your face. I really prefer putting paint down directly on the gel plate that I'm working on and had to revert to that method. I decided to just be careful with the amount I got out of the tube. I actually really like the print at this point. Sometimes you just gotta stop while you're ahead, but for some reason I kept going on. But let's be fair, you can always save a print by adding more layers if you don't like what you see. I added another layer in white to balance the one I added earlier. I'm going to add one more layer in that corner. This is the point at which I decided to finally stop and say, this is done and this is the final print. And this is the layer I was working on earlier, right at the start of the video. I decided to try something interesting. What happens if I just add a white layer with stencils? Let's try it out and see. Oh, that looks interesting. Next time, I might try that with a more translucent white so the layers down below show through more. This has given us a lovely ghost print layer. Since I'm limiting myself to using these pastel colors only for this session, I went ahead and used a combination of blue, purple and orange. All pastels, of course. I keep cleaning my brain between the three colors so I don't mix them up completely. And why not just use a cleanup sheet to pick this up? In the meanwhile, I wanted to show you this piece I made directly on a canvas sheet using the same paints and even the same technique. Interesting to see how much more vibrant our pastel colors look on the canvas, likely because our rice paper is pretty thin and translucent. If you want to see how this was done, please comment below to let me know and I'll definitely make that video. Had I used brighter colors, the ghost print would have popped. But here we get a lovely muted effect. I'm loving it. So which of these prints was your favorite? And do you lean more towards pastels or brighter colors in your own prints? I'd love to hear in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these videos. Make sure to turn on all notifications so you get notified by YouTube as soon as one is posted. And see you in the next video.